Hey guys, and welcome back. I did it anyway. Welcome back to the Little Legends Podcast, episode 3. I am your host, Blevins, and with me, as always, is the one and only Boop. Welcome back.
How's it going? Thank you. It's good to
Man,
be back, man.
it is always good to be back talking about TFT. I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's been longer than it should have been, even though it's been under a week, actually, since we last recorded.
Well, when love binds two people, time seems to go slower when we're apart.
It's
So
true.
I'll take it as a compliment,
Distance
personally.
makes the heart grow fonder. I don't know why I said that in that accent. I don't think that that's from a particular thing.
Yeah. Where's
Well,
that from? What country?
I don't
was
know.
that?
It was from Middle Earth, is what it was from.
Creepy bald guy. All right.
Creepy bald guy at a con pretending it's from Middle Earth was what that is. For podcast listeners, just so you know, I'm not bald. I just always wear a hat because I like hats, not because I'm bald. But yeah, man, there's probably
Nobody
a bunch of
asked,
new
but
people.
let's-
There's probably a
I
bunch of
know.
new people that are like, "What in the world is this show about?" We are the Little Legends podcast. We are a show about Teamfight Tactics, and I promise you, we will be talking about Teamfight Tactics very shortly. But yeah, so let's just jump right into it. It's been a crazy couple of weeks since we started. This is episode 3, though we did a pilot episode, so it's kind of like the fourth one we recorded. But I'm just gonna. It's for all intents and purposes, it's episode 3. We had 2 fantastic guests in our first 2 episodes. We had Josh OG for our series premiere. If you don't know who Josh OG is, go check him out. And we also had the newly minted C9 TFT Pro Crowan on last week. Talked all about the new patch, which is now, I guess, the old patch technically, but got really good insight into the pro from the pro eyes. But a lot has come about since we started this little thing, and I wanted to go over a little bit of housekeeping here before we dive deep into the juiciness. First off, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart because this show is, I think, and Boop, tell me if I'm wrong here, but we've kind of popped off a little bit here in terms of people downloading and showing their support and whatnot. It's been crazy.
I mean, I don't want to toot our own horn a little bit, but I'm shocked that more than one person is even prepared to listen to our voices speak
True.
about this game for hours on end. So thank you everyone who's been taking a listen, taking a gander. I think we hit the milestone of 500 downloads, which is super cool, especially this early on. And it's all about keeping y'all happy and making this thing go a lot further than that. And so thank you for joining us along on this ride. It's been super fun so far.
Yeah, it has been just a wild ride. I feel like I haven't slept in 3 weeks in a good way, mostly because of G Fuel, but also because of my excitement from Teamfight Tactics.
Sponsor me.
Please sponsor the show. G Fuel, you know where to find me. But in that, so not as a thank you, but as a way to collect people, because there's all sorts of places that people come from. I know a lot of you are from iTunes. A lot of you are from all the different podcast platforms. A lot of you know us from our Overwatch stuff. But we have a new home here, and that's going to be at discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. A bunch of you guys have already joined. We've had it for 2 days, and we've already got a really great couple of conversations. I'm adding stuff to it. I'm really trying to get the Discord community as the hub where you can find all the links and everything, and where we can talk about TFT and organize things like game nights. Nice transition here.
Stoked about organizing.
I know. Organizing game nights, because I'm throwing myself the alley-oop here. We are going to have the first official Little Legends podcast game night this Friday. So if you're listening to this live, it is going to be in 2 days, the 23rd. Yes, the 23rd of August, sometime around 8 Eastern in the Discord, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. It's going to be our first TFTF, or Teamfight Tactics Friday game night. It's going to be fun. It's going to be low-key. It's going to be casual. It's going to be kind of like this show where we're just going to show up, talk, and play some TFT, and just have fun with it. Everyone's invited. Just make sure you go to discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. and get in on the action there. Cannot wait for that. I don't know. We'll probably do some wacky game. We'll do a couple wacky games. We'll do maybe some. It's going to depend on what people want to do. No, there's no structure here. Probably not the best thing, but I'm learning on the way. We're learning on the job here. Last thing, I wanted to shout out. We got our first couple iTunes reviews here, and just for the record, guys, I'm not going to spend all this time on housekeeping every episode. I know it's a few minutes in, and we haven't talked about TFT at all, but I just want to get this out of the way because I'm super excited. From OVM Catalyst, we had 5-star rating, entertaining and insightful. A little jargon heavy for somebody like learning like myself with a little prior knowledge. Looking forward to more content. Thank you so much, guys. If you are listening on iTunes, please do leave a review, and we will read it on the show at some point. Probably not at the beginning like this one, but that's what I wanted to do. So the TLDR there, even though you guys did just listen to it, it's too late to not listen, is thank you for all the support. And I am inspired to work even harder to make the show and the community even better for you. So let me know what you want to see. But let's actually move a little bit into TFT here. Boop. How was your week, buddy? I want to know where did you start roughly, and how were your games this week? What have you been playing?
So I started in Plat 3, then I got to Plat 1.
Okay, good.
I had one of those days, right? We were talking about this a little earlier, but sometimes there's just a day in your life where you can't win anything, right? It's like
I call those days that end in Y. Go on.
Yep. You can't most days, right? But for me, like I started playing TFT and then I got a 7th, right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go again. And then I got another 7th, and I got demoted to Plat 2. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break from this, right? Maybe I'm gonna go to another game. And then so I played regular League of Legends and fed my ass off.
Okay.
Lost a ton of LP there. Went over to Overwatch. Lost a ton of MR there, right? I think, so this was 2 days ago, out of like maybe the 10, figuratively, like the 10 different kinds of games I played, I think I only won one.
Oof.
And so, yeah, like just in general. And so I was just on heavy tilt. And that happens to me, man. Once I hit like a milestone, I'm like, oh, Plat 1. And it was the first time I had ever hit Plat 1. And then I was like, cool, now I can mess around, I guess. And then I got like I didn't get any 8ths actually, but most of them were 7ths and 6ths. That the 6th places were actually the hardest for me because it's like, okay, I'm getting better. Like I feel like I'm like okay with the 6th place every once in a while, right? But no, not when you get like 3 or 4 of them in a row. Tons of 5th places too, just like in general. So it was a stark difference to the beginning of my TFT realm because I won a ton, got to Plat 1, and then lost it all. And I'm literally exactly where I was, same LP as I was at the beginning of this in Plat 3. So I'm on a little bit of a roller coaster, man. A little frustrated, but that is esports.
True. Yeah, I had somewhat of a similar week. This is bleeding a little bit into the previous week, but I was at Plat 1 about halfway, and then I had a friend who wanted to play some ranked. You know, I'm fine with that. They were like gold 4 or something, so like over a whole rank, like over one full rank below me. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I just want to have fun. I just want to play. Well, here's the thing when it comes to fun is when I get 4th place in that game and I lose 10 LP. That's a no-no, I found, because when I'm like scraping to get that 4th place and I still lose 8, that's not good. And I don't even want to talk about the 5th place, which is minus over 20 points, the 6th place, which is 30, and I didn't get lower than that, thankfully. I had to cut it off.
Brag.
Yeah, I was in a game that was the game thought I was just playing with preschool children, and they should shoot me. And
I've lost to a preschool kid at Candyland, so I mean it's possible.
I'm not even going to get into my whole tirade about how those games aren't actual games, but I guess that'll be on a different that'll just be for a different podcast entirely.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Candyland, the broadcast.
Yeah, no, this is game design, game theory, the podcast. No. I've already used up all of my tangents and non TFT related stuff at the front of the show. But I lost a bunch. I wasn't even that upset because I had fun playing. But I unfortunately now I just can't play I can't play ranked with my friends that are that much lower. And I don't want my friends that are that much higher to play ranked with me. Because it's not any of our faults. It's the way the game works. It's like it's gonna punish you.
Yeah, for me, it actually, like, it just also doesn't feel good when, like, I knock a friend out and I'm taking LP away from them, right? And I almost
don't
feel
care
like
about that part,
it's
but
better. I do. Especially
in fact,
when
I
they're,
want their
trying
LP.
really hard, and I've been
yeah.
teaching a lot of people how to play, and then like to get beat like that just doesn't feel good. And so I actually prefer to play ranked by myself, just in general, because of that. It's like, it's cool to queue up with your friends, but you're competing against each other, and things can get a little messy, I suppose, if you're like really into it. But yeah, I prefer to play by myself, just in general.
Yeah, I like the ranked experience by myself, or just a solo. I'm probably gonna make a Smurf account, a Little Legends podcast Smurf account, just to have to play with people if they want to play ranked. I'm just gonna have an account that I don't care about the rank for. Whatsoever. But long story short, I ended up playing, I went down, I fell to Plat 3, I was at Plat 1, then I ground back up. I was actually at Plat 1, 81 LP, so I'm like a second place, maybe, if I get lucky, a third place to get to Diamond. I get a fourth place, which gives me like plus 8 points or something. I'm like, okay, I can take this. I can grind up. I'll get a couple of these in a row. I'll get to Diamond. Then I get a fifth place, and I lose 10 points. I'm like -2. I'm like, okay, this is fine. Then I get an 8th place, and I lose 59 LP. And I was just like, I don't want to play anymore. I wish I didn't start playing today. It's like, and like I had to fight those initial thoughts because I want to keep playing because I'm not going to get better if I don't play, and B, like I actually enjoy playing the game, so I want to keep playing it. So it makes it feel even worse for me when, like, I mean, we talked about this on the very first episode. Like we talked about it with Josh OG, it feels so bad to just have so much of your progress wiped out in one single game.
In one fell swoop, if you will. Yeah, it just makes the ranked experience a lot more, pressurized, right? And, to a point that actually helps the quality of the game, where everyone's going to be trying really hard and, this or this. But this is, an RNG-dependent game, and sometimes you just get dealt a really bad hand, and you were never going to get over 4th place, right? Based off of just the cards that you were gotten. And then it feels like, based on the type of game it is, the penalty for getting 8th place, because I've definitely gotten to the point where it's just like, you just don't get your cards. Right, you don't get you don't top deck, or you don't, or whatever it is in TFT. You don't re-roll into the right. You never find your Kale, right? So you're just running 5 nobles the whole game, and of course you're not going to win that game. And so, and then there are other games where like another dude has like 18 items, it feels like, and you've gotten gold for 4 of the items rounds, right? And you're like, okay, well, just not going to win this one, I guess. I'm going for 3rd or 4th, and I think there is This game also, though, on the other side of the spectrum, rewards consistency because of those top 4 finishes. So it's like they're giving you the ability to be highly ranked without ever winning a game, right? True. But at the same time, you're dropping so far for one game that it just feels like it just feels too much. It's not very fun and interactive, is a term a lot of game developers like using.
Yeah, and it's like the problem is, if I lose 59 points for getting 8th, that would almost be fine if I gained 59 points for getting 1st place, but I'm getting like maybe 40. So it's like it's not a good bet, right? Like I'm losing more than I would be gaining for the inverse score. And like I read a bunch of stuff on Reddit, and there's theories, and maybe it's even confirmed, but about hidden MMR and stuff. We won't get into that. But like, I don't care about the like me being the actual rank that my hidden MMR says. Like, it's not hurting anyone to have their score inflated more, right? Like, if my hidden MMR is Plat 1, but I end up in Master or Diamond 1 instead, for instance, I'm just going to be losing, right? Or I'm not going to be losing. Maybe I actually am better than that, and the hidden MMR doesn't update fast enough, right? Like, there's so much. I feel like I'm getting hidden MMR while I'm watching streams, if that makes sense, you know? Like,
hidden MMR is like the Illuminati of MMR, right? It's like, what are they doing? What is this?
Right.
What even is this number?
But the only way to gain it is to win games and play games and win games, but that's not the only way that you actually get better at the game. I could play for 8 hours versus watching dog play for 8 hours, and I might gain more from watching dog play than I get from actually playing. I might actually be better as a player after watching dog play for 8 hours than me physically playing, but I'm not getting MMR from watching dog. So, it's just like the hidden MMR thing is stupid. Just let people have inflated. And, like, just make it better. No one likes to be lower than they should be or lower than they feel like they should be. Just make it higher.
But it's going to ruin the sanctity of the game.
But the competitive integrity of this no-stakes ranked mode really...
It's like, no, I don't care. Like, let me play in Diamond if I, like, and then I'll go down slowly, right?
So there was also, like, I remember reading on some of these posts that if you grinded at the beginning of TFT, apparently your MMR is, like, hyperinflated. Sure. Because, like, silver was the top 2% of the game at one point, right? Yeah. Plat was, like, the top 0.2% for, like, a really long time. Mm-hmm. I still think Plat's usually just top 5%, top 10% anyway. And so, like, I think when you look at the bell curve for most games, Plat's kind of where, like, most people start falling off.
Sure.
And I think it rewarded the grind a lot more. Yeah. And it's still, like, but now that we all have those games under our belt, that grind just feels less rewarding because we're not getting what we were getting back then, right? Like, we all remember going up a division from a second place. Right, from back in the day, and like now that's not happening. We're comparing our current feelings with those feelings as well, especially those of us that like played right when it released, right when we were gaining 80, LP every single victory, right, and then all of a sudden now you're getting 30. The comparison just also doesn't feel that good. I'm not saying you should get 80. Like, I think getting 40 LP for a win feels like a good number, right? But
yeah, no, I agree with that.
It's just the penalty of getting 8th, especially when there are points where you get 6th to 8th because of just the game that you're in, right? This dude has a level 3 Volibear already.
Someone has to get 8th every game.
Yeah, it's like round 3-2, and this guy's got a Misfortune and a Kale, right? And someone's just rolling. And we've all been that person, too. We've all been the beneficiary of that RNG, and sometimes those victories don't even feel as good. But, man, getting 8th place sure feels bad, and if you consistently get 8th place, then I'm cool with losing like 60 to 70 LP because I did it two times in a row. I've proven that I'm terrible, right? And so I need, the system knows that I'm falling here and needs to right the ship because if I'm getting 8th place multiple times in a row, then my MMR in general is too high, and it needs to right the ship. But like, it really feels like an overcorrection to me.
Yeah, and they've said that they're looking into it, but it just feels bad, and it's lit. And I'll finish the topic with this because I know we're going on and on about it, but it's interesting to me, and I think a lot of people are feeling the same way. But I felt when I lost that 59 points, I felt the active feeling of I wish I didn't play today because I'd be in a better spot. And if I would have just taken the day off and just looked at my rank at Plat 181, I would be maybe happier than what I am now at Plat 1 20 points because I lost one game. And it's like, it doesn't make me want to play the next game. It doesn't.
But be better, Forehead, right? If you were better,
that's
then
fine.
It wouldn't have mattered. But like,
if this was a tournament, if this was one tournament, okay, sure. But like, this is like, credit where credit's due. Hearthstone's like grind. It is a grind, but like, you're always going up, right? If you have a 55% win rate, You just need to play more games to get to Legend or whatever. And then Legend, it will equal out because like you're losing big swaths, you're gaining big swaths or whatever. That's more MMR focused. But like the actual ladder itself, like make it arbitrary. I don't care if I'm getting like, first, third, fifth, second, sixth, second. Like I want to be going up in this chunk, right? Even if it's just a little bit, or like only down. So I don't want to be losing a bunch. I don't know. I digress. I'm bad. I need to just be better forehead.
This is one of those things that I actually do worry about because feelings, whether you believe it or not, are really important to the longevity of the game.
Yeah,
right, and how devs interact with their community, and so this is one of the problems where I really see like, all right, if this is still happening in like 6 months, like then I'm super worried about like the health of the game. Right now, it's still in beta, and like you don't have to worry about it now. They say they're looking at it, but we've in many a game, right? Like I forget when Overwatch actually announced that they were looking at role queue, but I think it was like BlizzCon last year, and it came out a couple months ago, right? So they've been looking at it for a really long time, but are just now instituting it. These changes can take very, very long, and it's almost like it's on a timer. If they don't make this feel and yeah, losing should feel bad. Getting 8th place should feel bad, but there's a line, and I think right now it feels like it's past it. So hopefully, and they're already looking at it, but there's going to be a fix soon. They seem to be patching this game really quickly, so. Fingers crossed, it's going to get better. I trust right now, but in a month, if it hasn't changed, then I might be changing my song a little bit.
I mean, it makes sense that they would import a very similar LP system to what was already in the game with League of Legends. So I'm not worried about it in terms of long term. I'm just venting my personal frustrations with it. But let's move on here and talk about some news that happened in the TFT community this week. A big one happened earlier on in the week. G2, the professional esports organization, has entered the TF2 arena by signing one of, if not the biggest players in the scene right now. That is Hafu. Boop, I know you're a huge Hafu fan.
The card game queen. Man, I love her so much. Ever since she was playing League of Legends, I've been watching her stream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She was like a really, really, she, in my opinion, she's one of those trailblazers, like for me, just in general. And watching her stream through the years has always felt really good. But I'm so happy that orgs are looking at people like Hafu and people like Crowin and all these other streamers that they're picking up because it shows that there's interest and there is good health in the game right now for these things to matter, right? Because Hafu signing with G2 is really, really cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. Obviously, she is one of. I mean, in the alpha, I don't remember what phase it exactly was, but in one of the original rankings, she was #1 overall, which was a big thing in terms of her I guess hidden MMR. She's #1 overall, and like. Yeah, I mean, obviously she's been a top player in Hearthstone. I know she's dabbled in other card games and other.
She was I was actually watching her and Dog yesterday play Magic the Gathering, and I think she was teaching him how to play. That was an ad,
but yes.
No. They were like playing because I remember him just like really.
I mean, they were playing, but it was
a
sponsored. It was a sponsored.
Yeah, that's true. It was sponsored, but it was cool because. Just the way that those two think about this kind of stuff, the way that they like beautiful mind card games, pretty much. It's like they are and will always be better than almost every single other person who plays this game, right? And to see two people at such a high skill talk about a card game like that was actually really, really cool. And so and she was getting a little frustrated at Dog at times. It was funny.
That dynamic is very
all he
funny.
wanted to do. I don't know what Magic the Gathering is, but his dude was the lion, and all he wanted to do was play Inspire Charge. And she's like, "No, just rest, just pass. Like you don't need to do anything." And he's like, "But I want to do.
I want to smork."
Yeah, and just that interaction with each other is really, really cool. And just think about like the conversations they must have about TFT, right? Like I just want to listen in.
We get to see it sometimes because they have overlap sometimes in their streams, and that's always fun because like I don't know how they do it as a couple, but like they are like on the opposite like stream schedule. So like she is sleeping while he streams and vice versa. Like she streams overnight my time. She starts at like 2 a.m. or something my time and streams in the morning until he wakes up or whatever. But yeah, there's always like there's like an hour or so of overlap. Like when Dog's getting off and she's getting on, it's really cool because like you can tell like they obviously grow from each other, and like I've lived in a house that was full of Magic players, and like we're constantly like playing, having people over, and like we get there's two sides of it. Like on the one hand, like we get so much better than most people so much faster because we're testing constantly, but then there's also that like almost like echo chambery of like, well, we all latch onto a certain type of play style, and we rarely when you're playing with the same 8 people, like 8 is a large number of people. When you're playing, like opposing opinions get drowned out very quickly unless they are very clearly the right answer. So it's two sides of a coin, but it's crazy. Yeah, hearing their conversations is really interesting. As someone who's been in like, I mean, not the same situation, obviously, but like a similar situation of like living with a bunch of players that like are playing.
Theory crafting is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So without going into too much of Hafu's personal life here,
I love her so much, man.
Really cool to see G2 jump in. Obviously, they are big in a lot of different esports, League of Legends especially. So good to see more orgs coming in. C9 actually added another TFT player. That is K3 Soju. I did not actually know. I'd never really heard of him before. I actually was hanging out in his stream a little bit the other day, and it turns out he actually lives like very close to where I am. He's in the Rochester area, which is like very close to me. So I'm like,
we're gonna see you in his window one day. He's not gonna know, but you'll be there.
I asked him. I'm like, you're in Rochester. Have you ever been to Millennium Games? He's like, oh yeah, I live like 5 minutes away from there. I'm like, yeah, that's my old stomping ground. So nice. Cool to see a relatively local player, to me at least. And you know, Cloud9 keeping it going. Crowin was a big one, and now Soju. I'm not as familiar with Soju's past here as a player. I think he played a little bit of League of Legends, but not like obviously at like a hugely competitive level, because he would still be playing. But I think he was in like some like a semi-pro or something in League of Legends. But
well, all that matters is he's on Cloud9 now, and anytime these announcements come, again, it's just good for the health of the community.
Mm-hmm. More orgs coming in, especially these big orgs, like. Even if it's like somewhat artificial because there's like no tournament series now, it builds people's confidence and is definitely good. We did get the announcement of the next Twitch Rivals TFT tournament, which is coming on September 5th, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. I was trying to find the post earlier, which I actually tweeted, but the next Twitch Rivals event, those ones are always cool. Josh OG obviously won the first one. It's a really cool event. It's over a few days, and I'm glad that we're seeing another one because, yeah, September 5th, and it's actually the road to TwitchCon. So I think the winner, or potentially the top few winners, are going to TwitchCon to play. I think the top 8 are going to TwitchCon. So September 5th. Check that out on the Twitch Rivals Twitch channel. A lot of your favorite streamers, but not all of them, because I'm not going to be there. Okay, all of your favorite Twitch streamers are going to be in it. But it's really cool. I'm glad that we're seeing another Twitch Rivals event, because like there's been like flash in the pan games that get a Twitch Rivals event and then they never go anywhere and they die. But this is cool to actually see, like, we're getting more support
consistency,
for that.
man. Like, anything in gaming, like, it could be lightning in a bottle, right? It could either fizzle out or turn into something amazing, right? And so just the fact that they're revisiting it and they think it's worth putting on the production and doing all this other stuff, going into TwitchCon means that there's still a lot of interest here, and we got to keep that interest going if we really want this game to become the game that we want it to be, right?
Yep. Yes, definitely excited about that. Okay, so we got another couple of pieces of news here. We did get a hot fix of Nobles, so
Thank God.
There was a day and a half where Nobles just went completely rampant. I mean, I'm still a personal fan of Nobles, but they had their armor and magic resist buffed originally to 75. After about a day and a half, they reverted that back down to 60. It was kind of broken. It was, you need to go Nobles. Whoever gets the kill first wins the game. And like,
I remember playing on that patch, and I both won a game as Nobles and lost one. I was playing Gunslingers against it, and I literally just wasn't doing damage to any of them because they were all getting that, you know, on hit heal along with that obscene armor and MR buff. So like, they just were just standing there. Like, I had no chance.
Yeah, I think Nobles is in a pretty good spot right now. It's very strong still to get the full 6-piece Nobles. It's still strong in the early game. And like, each individual unit is also pretty strong and synergizes in other comps. So it's like, I don't know if this is exactly what they want it to be or if it's too strong, because it's like, yeah, I can just invest in the Lucian because he's a good unit, even though he got nerfed.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Or I can like play the Vayne as like part of Rangers, and Garen is a good unit. Like, there's not like a complete dud unit that you're not gonna use at all at any point in the game. It's like, even like Fiora is strong at points. So
I hope no one ever talks about me like that. Even Boop is good sometimes.
I mean, Fiora, I don't even want to talk about Fiora because she can be strong. She can be very strong.
All right, roll the intro. Let's go. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Roll the intro.
Yeah. No, we don't need to talk about that. There's also some proposed changes on PBE, but we'll talk about those if they ever get in the game. The other big piece here, okay, we will talk about some PBE stuff. Pantheon has been revealed. He's a 5-cost Dragon Guardian. His ultimate currently causes him to leap up in the air, hurl a stunning spear at the furthest enemy, and then crash down on them, dealing percentage health damage to everything on the way.
So he does some Tai Chi before he leaps up into the air. Because like, there's nothing worse than when you like are watching Shen do his little hand motions as he's about to die. Right? And you're like, just get the ult on. Why you gotta be fancy? Right? Like, why are you doing parkour when you could just like be there? And so Pantheon's like kind of the same way. I can already see it happening over and over again while he's like charging up to get to his ult. He never actually gets there because he dies.
Yeah, those ones. And like, who else is it? Darius does that. Varus does that, where Varus is like, let me just line this up for 5 hours. Oh, I died. Sorry. And Darius is like, oh, I'm gonna wind this bad boy up. I'm gonna gain some. Oh, he's dead.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
But he's a 5-cost unit, so because one thing, and I definitely wanted to talk about this when we got to Pantheon, is one thing I'm starting to worry about a little bit is pool dilution. Like, I actually kind of feel like we might be reaching like the limit of characters that we can have in the game and be healthy. So something that we talked about with Josh a couple weeks ago was, you know, when it comes to seasons, like when are they going to have to start instituting it like Hearthstone, right? Because Hearthstone has like the basic set where these cards are always legal, and then these other expansions rotate out. That's actually posed a lot of problems for Hearthstone, but it might be a little different for TFT, because like there's going to be a point where, I mean, they added 4 new characters, and I felt that, man. Like fighting level 3 is and like I think a lot of Yordle players really felt it because they didn't get any characters added. They just got like their chances of getting their Yordles taken away, right? And I think that can be really frustrating. And I think it's actually at a good spot now, but they add 4 more characters again. I think we'd be reaching that limit. I'm just curious as to if you think we're close to that as well, or maybe I'm just being a little too sensitive about it.
I mean, it depends on how they want the game to feel. If they want games to end with incomplete comps where you've got like tier 1 units just for the traits and the bonuses, that's a world we could live in if we add a bunch of characters. If they want us to have these nice full comps where we've got tier 2s everywhere, and we've got our units going, and synergies going, adding more characters dilutes that and makes it less possible. So especially the five is going to hurt so much because it's like, man, I really need this Kale, for instance. That's a big one. Swain is huge. Like if you're going Imperials or you're going Shapeshifters or you're going like that's huge. Anivia less so, Misfortune less so. Sometimes you just need that unit, 4-cost units as well, and adding another is going to be huge. But it really just depends on where they want the feel of the game to be. And honestly, I want them to test that out. I want them to quote unquote dilute the pool to a point where maybe they're uncomfortable, so that they know, like, okay, that's great. We found the line when we have this many different types of units or this many different types of traits and this much overlap. This is not where we want to be, because people are like, well, I had 3 tier 1 units at the end of the game and nothing felt fun because I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. I spent so much gold rerolling.
Matching is like what's fun about this game, though, for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like if they affect that a little bit too much, because I remember when they dropped like it was years ago, when they dropped Elise down to 1 cost, and
that was before I even played.
and like even that was weird, right?
Yeah.
Like even that was like, oh man, like I'm not seeing the cards that I'm usually seeing at
Right.
at the frequency that I'm used to seeing them. It like
Mhm.
really makes you adjust your play style, and makes you like a little bit more cagey with your money, or I have to buy these units now because I'm not going to see them
Right.
again later. But yeah, even just one like that, right? Say they drop a Anivia to 4 cost all of a sudden,
Mhm.
right? Then every 4 cost becomes a little rarer, and but then 5 costs become a little bit more common because you have one less, and there's definitely like a magical balance to that. But I just can't help but feel like we're getting really close to that limit, because it really affected the game. I think adding the 4 units, and my husband of a Yordle player like is having a hard time finding his Yordles now because
Right.
you know at every stage because they added a 1, 2, 3, and 4 cost card, right? At every stage made every single one of those less common, because the pool stayed at 500, I believe, right? Or there's 500 total cards, I believe.
So okay, I was just gonna ask that because I'm not sure. Like, is it they add a 1 and there's still, I don't know what the actual numbers are. So if I'm wildly off, don't criticize me. Are there still 20 of each copy of 1 cost when they add a new 1 unit, or are they going to add another 1 unit and there's only going to be 18 copies of each, right? Or like 15
Yeah.
or whatever. I don't know
I'm
what
not
the answer to that
100%
is.
sure, but I know there's 500 total cards in a TFT game. And
Okay, so they
so
do. So if they add new ones, they're staying at 500. They're just reducing the.
or they go up to because like the solution to the dilution would be to increase the max card count to like 550, right? And then the game would be super different. But I'm like totally cool with that. It's just like if they want to keep it at a certain amount, it feels actually pretty good right now. I actually think they're really close to like a really good
Yeah,
balance.
I like where the game is right now, and I think
Yeah, I do
they've
too,
set
and I
the
think a lot of
too.
people agree with us in that state. And the fact that Pantheon's a 5 cost is, I think, good for the game, because we added another 1 cost unit. Man, like just imagine what that would be like. And it might for people who don't play a lot of TFT, it might not feel like that big of a difference adding a single character into the game, but like when they added a Twisted Fate, right? You really feel it. You like, because you're seeing 2 Twisted Fates in your pack, you're not seeing 2 of another card, right? Potentially. And so that's the only thing that I'm like, other than like the losing 8 million LP when you get 8th place, like that's the other thing that like that's got to be on their radar soon, because I think we're getting close to the max. I think we could take like another like 4 cost, another 3 cost, but I think the 1s and 2s feel pretty stacked already.
I'm wondering if what they could do is add, like, if they took Cho'Gath, for instance, and they cut his copies in half, but they gave us a different Void Brawler that had a different ability and different stats, but was still a Void Brawler. That could keep your synergy similar. Obviously, your tier 2s are going to be different. I don't know. There's a lot of different knobs and dials that they can turn to make it feel better or worse in different ways, and luckily, that's their job to figure out. We're just here to criticize.
Because like I feel my like vein on my head just like throbbing right now. But I think it's something that's good to talk about, right? Because Pantheon is going to dilute the pool of legendaries for sure. Right, that's going to happen because he is a legendary card. And so, what does that mean? I never find Kale anyway. So for me, probably not that much.
Feel better about not finding her.
For gunslinger players, like probably not going to matter all that much either. But for noble players who need Kale, or for, like you said, Imperial players who need Swain, right? Yeah. That's where Pantheons, you're going to really feel that. Just like a lot of us who felt the, Elise dropping down to 1, or the 4 Hex Techs coming in and diluting the pool a little bit. So, well, I think Pantheon's a cool unit, and there's some really funny videos apparently of Rabadon Deathcat Pantheon out there just deleting fools. Also, he's one of the handsomest men in League of Legends, so I'm glad he's there. The other thing I think is really cool is that he's a Guardian, and so that's only Leona and Braum right now. I don't see how Dragon Guardian really go together, but I think what that could do is open up that kind of comp, right? Like going in, because we're seeing a lot of Dragon Sorcerer right now, like Dragon Sorcerer, like Shapeshifter, because Asol and Shyvana have such good synergy. I mean, just getting magic immunity is so strong, just in general. And so getting a third person that you don't need that item for, the value is really great.
Yeah, my initial thought is it just makes it so that you don't have to run late game brawlers or late game like knights or shapeshifters if you don't want to for your front line for Sorks. Because like Pantheon is better with Sork bonus because he you could either make him a sorcerer and give him the extra mana and contribute to 6 Sorks, or you can just put no items on him and just have him get the passive, or the passive ability power from the 6 Sork bonus, because his thing does a lot of damage with sorcerer bonus. So I think it's like, oh, okay, I can just have the Braum or the Leona and him with Aurelion Sol, him and one of the Guardians. You have like a pseudo frontline. And you don't need to run 4 brawlers or even 2 brawlers or whatever if you don't want to, like super late game. He might also be able to.
The Guardian buff is strong, man. I like the Guardian buff a lot, and a lot of comps depend on it to kind of sustain. And so it gives you just another option. The Dragon is actually something I'm super keen on because, one, dragons are cool, right?
True.
And just to have that kind of option there is really nice. Because he's going to do some damage with his ult. But you can use him as a tank too, right, for the Guardian buff. So it kind of depends. But he is legendary, so sometimes you just won't get him. That's just going to be how that's just going to be how it is for you.
I have a feeling he's going to be more on the misfortune spectrum of things than the Kale spectrum of things. I think he's going to be somewhere in the middle, but I think the lower end of the middle.
Something that misfortune can't do while she is missing literally everyone on the field. I want to report misfortune more often than not. Is since his ultimate targets the furthest person, right? He can, and since the ultimate takes a while, the furthest person is not potentially going to be the original person in the corner. That he's going to be able to deal with Jinxes and Karthuses and Dravens a little bit easier than a Vi would be. And so like that is really, really cool.
Yes, his ult seems smarter than Misfortune's for sure, and does give you like an actual potentially kill threat for those.
It's a tool, right? Where Misfortune's like a freaking coin flip. I will never forget. There was 2 units on the field, and I had a Misfortune. I was running Gunslingers. There's a Tristan in a corner and a Lucian somewhere else. And I'm like, if you go for this Lucian, I'm going to be pissed, right? Because he's just going to dodge right out of it, right?
Yeah.
And so he does, and she's literally 1 hex away, right? So the ult's here. and she's just chilling there, destroying my team the whole time. But that's part of the fun. It's part of the fun of misfortune.
Right.
Sometimes she'll kill a whole team for you.
Usually not though, because she still gets wrecked by night passive. But
sometimes
enough complaining about misfortune. I'm sure I'll have plenty of that on stream at some point, because I always tend to. But let's actually jump in and talk about the 9.16, the B side, the deep cut of the patch, the B side, 9.16B. We start off, we hear from Riot Biernana. Hey, tacticians, welcome to Teamfight Tactics patch 9.16B notes. In true B-side fashion, this patch will be fairly light. The biggest change is the in-game matchmaking system, which should prevent you from seeing the same opponent too often. This change, blah, 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 blah. One thing that they did note is that as of right now, this live recording, that has not been implemented yet, actually. But Riot More did say that it will be out in the next couple of hours. So if you're listening to this in future podcast land, it should be fixed. Yeah. Welcome from the past. Welcome to Jurassic Park. But if you're playing right this second as you're listening to this live on twitch.tv/theblevins, it might not be in yet. But let's jump right into the changes. Start off with Brawler. Bonus health for Brawler.
This makes me sad.
Yeah, bonus health for Brawler was a 300, 600, 1,000 bonus for tier 1, 2, and 3 respectively, and is now down to 250, 500, and 900. So a minus 50, minus 100, minus 100 for Brawler.
It makes the mid game for Brawlers a lot harder. And so like the 100 from the 600 is going to be felt way more than the 100 from the 1,000, right? Mm-hmm. So that was extra anyway. And so
it was a lot extra.
Yeah. And so like, just because it's a higher number, and even though it is going to be late game, a lot of people already have red buffs and stuff like that. So and Morellos, and so you're not going to feel that 100 loss as much as you are gonna in that mid game. Like the 600 to 500 is, I think, the biggest change there, because I run Brawlers all the time. It's the one comp I know how to win with, and so. Yeah, and when I was running it earlier today, I just couldn't help but think like 100 less health right now across 4 units. That's 400 less health, just in general. And my units right now aren't that beefy, right? Because 100 less health for Cho'Gath is going to feel a little less than 100 less health for Warwick, right? Or Rek'Sai. And so, yeah, I'm actually really worried about the mid game. The late game should still be pretty similar to what they were. You just got to get there now.
Yeah, I think it obviously, it's kind of gone. We've kind of gone back and forth. Like, we've seen, Knights was almost unplayable in its old iteration. Then it got changed and it was really good. Then they buffed Brawlers a little bit. Brawlers has been good. Knights has been all right. And recently, Brawlers has been super good, especially with the addition of Vi. Now you have the 6 Brawlers to go for. It's been really good because the extra health is good against attack damage and also spell damage, because it's just raw health. Knight bonus not good against spell damage. Obviously, I don't think armor blocks spell damage. I could be wrong.
Just auto attack.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So Brawler just overall has been better. The Brawlers themselves are generally more versatile units than the Knights, with the exception of Sejuani. The Brawlers just have way more crowd control, which is better. So, the Brawlers have had a all-around, an overall better passive, and the units themselves have been better. And, you can build Cho as you can pump items onto Cho and be fine, because he's doing, with Void bonus and Brawler bonus, he's getting health. He's doing true damage with his ult. You can give him ability power, and he does a ton. You can give him a Morellonomicon, which will reduce the healing of the entire team, and provide crowd control. All of that was powerful. I like this nerf a little. I like this small nerf here. I think it was just too easy and too versatile to run Brawlers. It goes into so much. You can run Brawlers, Gunslinger, Brawlers.
Well, and then
Sword,
usually
Assassins.
There aren't a ton of Brawler players in your lobby. like for some reason, right? So I
There
think Brawler's actually
wasn't
pretty
for a
easy.
while, but
For a while, but
recently
with Jinx and Vi,
it's
it
been
was a
like
little bit more
nothing
complicated.
but
But like
brawlers.
again, like this, while the nerf I think was necessary, I think the where you're going to feel it is definitely in that mid game because 100 HP might be the difference at that point. Might be the difference between you and an ultimate, as
Right.
opposed to later on when you've gotten an extra 900 HP, you're gonna ult. Right? And so you're going to get all of the things that you already were getting at that point in time too, but you're going to need 6 brawlers now. So like you're not going to be able to do as much with 4 like you were, because like 4 brawlers could take you to like top 4, like no problem.
Yeah.
Back in the I guess the current patch, but once this launches, you're really going to need 6 to really feel like this team comp is going to get you a victory, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's I mean, like, I don't necessarily want my level 1 Cho'Gath to just be better than every other unit that I could be getting if I have any number of other brawlers. Like, I want there to be some sort of, like, I want it to be a choice whether I play knights or brawlers. Like, I mean, I struggle with it because I like to go more on the, like, Blade Master and noble side, and knights kind of synergize a little bit better with those. But, like, it's just like, yeah, I mean, you just start with, like, Void, Wild, Sork brawlers, and it's like all of that wraps very neatly into a nice little package. You can go into 6 Sorks, you can go to 6 brawlers, you can go to 4 wilds, you can go, like, there's so much you can do from that package that all the brawlers are into, and they all fit into it, and it's all good. So I like it. I like the nerf. I like the nerf there. Moving on to champion nerfs, they hit the big boys here and girls. Draven has a slight health reduction from 700 to 650, and his attack damage has been lowered from 75 down to 70. My boy Draven, he's definitely worse. Obviously, there's nothing better about that. My inclination is that he's still pretty good.
Yeah, you're building Bloodthirster on him anyway, right? If you're running Draven, you got to get a Bloodthirster on him, and so
don't need Bloodthirster if you have Noble buff, bro. Think about it. Think
okay.
about it.
Okay, I'm not as cool as you, Lev. Okay, all right, I gotta do it the old-fashioned way down here in the annals of Plat. But yeah, it's, in the 5 attack damage, so. Let me give you a little bit of a story. I know we're going a little long, but in regular League of Legends, there has been many a time where a +2 attack damage buff or -2 attack damage nerf has destroyed a champion, right? And so 5 attack damage might not feel like enough, but you got to think about it in a sense of over like 4 attacks, right? You know, you're only losing 20 damage. But again, that is the difference between an ultimate for someone and not having that ultimate, right? And so 20 damage might not feel like a lot in terms of raw numbers, but in terms of that macro gameplay, could really affect Draven in general. But the health nerf, because he's got Bloodthirster anyway, I don't really, or Noble buff. I don't think it's like that big of a deal, but the attack damage thing could really affect him just in general.
I haven't crunched the numbers of like, oh well, now Draven will die to one tier 2 Cho'Gath ult if he has Rabadon's Death Cap and Morello's. He'll just die from the one shot. I don't think that the 50 damage, and then obviously the multiplicativeness of it. I just made up a super word there. The extrapolation of that health into tier 2 and tier 3. I don't know if there's like if this 50 health is a break point. Does he die to something in a one-shot fashion that he wouldn't have before, or is he just slightly more vulnerable in general? I'm fine with this. Like, we can go into the Jinx nerf here too. I think this patch especially, it's been like, if you want to like have a shot at first place, you need to have a stacked Draven, a stacked Jinx, a stacked Aurelion Soul, or I'm trying to think of like other like.
Those are the big 3.
Yeah,
probably.
there's other like more synergistic comps where you could put like all your items on
like
Swain or a Kennen or Cho, but like those are the big ones. Like, yep, this is my dude. This is like, if I'm building a real League of Legends team, this is where my top carry is, my all-star.
Well, and I don't really think Draven, honestly, like, even though Draven feels oppressive sometimes, like, I didn't really feel like it was that bad. Like, compared to Jinx to me needed, like, if I had to pick one of those champions to nerf, like, I would have picked Jinx.
See, I always felt the opposite, but I think most people agreed with or felt what you felt. I don't know. I just didn't see as much Jinx as like here's the thing about Jinx. It always felt like I had a chance, right? Because like maybe if I got her really early, like she wouldn't get her rockets. Now, once she gets her rockets,
it's over.
It's pretty much over in the same. But like Draven, like almost like starts kind of like that, and it's like you see the Bloodthirster, you see like either a Rage Blade or a an RFC or whatever other item, and it's like this Draven could probably 1v6 my team right now. Where it's like Jinx needs to get started, and then usually like I guess it's more of a psychological thing because like if she has her rockets out, at least 2 of my units have already died and she's still around, so it's over. But it always felt different to me. We'll talk about the Jinx bonus here, or the Jinx nerf here. The ability bonus attack speed has gone from 0.75, 1.0, and 1.25 for tier 1, 2, and 3 respectively to 0.6, 0.8, and 1.0.
That's big. That's a big nerf. Because, like, again, to put it into perspective, her level 2 post nerf is only 0.05 higher than her current level 1, and that's crazy. And again, I think it's deserved. I think she can take over a game a little too easily.
Yeah, and I mean, it just the thing about having your Draven and your Jinx, like I'm fine having like I want the attack damage strategy to be playable, but I don't want to have to play Jinx or have to play Draven.
Yep.
And I would rather have like a slew of units that are all reasonable, but it's like, nope, they have the Jinx. They got the early Jinx. They are building it. It's over. Like, I'm not beating that. I'm not beating the Draven. And at least like Draven, like you had like different avenues, and he's like Jinx. Here's the thing about Jinx. Jinx felt good even without items because her ult going off her rockets are kind of like her having items. Draven, you need items for. So I guess
and I think that's why the nerfs are a little bit heavier on Jinx, because her rocket damage is getting a nerf as well, but it's not as like the good thing here is because her attack speed is also getting nerfed, she's going to put out less rockets anyway.
Yep.
And so that's going to even feel like this is a really heavy nerf. And that just goes to show, like, Carwin even said it, right? She's definitely on the overtuned side. This next one, though, Kale, along with these next 3, I think are all actually pretty deserved too, because this Kale one, shield duration is lowered from 2.34 to 2.5 to 3. I think that is in direct correlation to the Shojin build that a lot of people are putting on her.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to have a Kale just like sit there and ult for the entirety of a game. Like, that is the definition of not fun and interactive. And so because I lost today from a Kale with Shojins and a red buff. And like a level 1 Kale shouldn't be able to survive that much just in general. So this is good.
The level 1 Kale is actually not any different. So
that's true. That's true. But the level 2 Kale,
the level 2 Kale, I mean, 0.5 seconds
really
is
starts
huge.
like the infinite immunity. Is like it gives it so like you're like think about when you're running Yordles or something and your Viger keeps hitting the shield with his ult, right? This way you get a half-second window, even more so. Of landing that damage, or like that Cho'Gath ult or the Vi ult or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, putting a Shojins on a Kale is still very good. It's just not like a lock, which I'm fine with. I love Kale. I like building nobles a lot. I tend to go for it a bunch, but like this is a good nerf. This is I mean, obviously I want to win, but for the sake of the game, I don't want there to be like even though it's kind of cool, I don't want there to be like I got 3 Shojins, so now my Kale's literally unkillable and you can't win. It's just a lock. I don't really want that. That's not super fun, especially if you like Mise it really early. Yeah, there's no counterplay. So I think the Kale nerf is nice. Again, I miss 0.5 seconds is big for the most common, like the most common place for Kale to be overpowered. Like the tier 3 change. Okay, how many? I want to know. I want to actually hear the stat. Maybe we can get this from Riot More. I want to know how many tier 3 Kales have actually been made in a ranked game. Do you think it's
Not that
over?
many,
Do you think
man.
it's over or under 50 total for across all ranked games?
I don't know, man. Probably under.
I think
is
under.
What my gut would tell
I'm
me,
thinking
too,
under. Do you
because
think it's over under 20 times at a tier 3?
I think 20.
9 Kales. Someone has got 9 Kales.
I can't even find one Kale a lot of the time. So, like, that is the unit that I can, I am swimming in Lulus a lot of the time, right? I'm swimming in Anivias.
That's an all right
but
one to get.
Kale, never. It is a desert out there. But overall, I think this change is great. I think this next change is also very important and will change gunslingers and that start really heavily because. You could go over it, but Lucian is one of the. We all know him as he is one of the strongest early game characters. You can pick up a level 1 Lucian, put items on, and he'll carry you for a while. And so now he's going to be doing 50 less damage at level 1, and that's a lot of damage that he's missing on his dash too. So again, it's not just 50 damage; it's 50 damage over 10 casts of that, right? And so. I think it's deserved, though. I think they could use a bit more diversity in the early game.
Yeah, Lucian, real quick, the actual changes. It goes 150, 250, 350, and it is now 100, 225, 350. So significantly worse. It is 33% worse in level 1, and then it's slightly less bad level 2, and then it's the same for tier 3. So you know what? They're letting you still. If you want to go all in on that tier 3 Lucian, you still got the same guy that you've had. But the most common ones, tier 1 and tier 2, are significantly harsh. I do agree with you. Your 1 and 2 cost units, it's fine having powerful ones, but you don't want there to be 1 or 2 very powerful ones that are just so much better than the others. It's good to have ones that are good situationally or that have really good traits to help your team or that are really good at this, that. Lucian was he's giving you Gunslinger, which is good. He's just an all-around fine unit. He is a unit that you can you can put your Draven or your Jinx items on him early and then transition.
He's a gunslinger, right? The synergies with him with nobles too just came so much earlier than other units can. Just like you said about brawlers, you can say about Lucian. Just in general, and so I like it since his level 3 damage is the same, right? You can still build this guy, but it's going to diversify who your level 2 carry could be, right? And so we might be seeing a little bit more of other things now because this is, I think, a nerf to gunslingers in general early game.
Also, maybe a nerf to Luden's Echo because that was just such a good combo with Lucian and Luden's Echo.
Well, Luden's also got nerfed. So Lucian got super nerfed. Again, it's only a couple. It's only. It's not only 50 damage, it's 50 damage. That's a lot of damage early game because think about how much HP your units have at rank 1, right? Yeah,
it is certainly a big one. So Lucian, that's a big one because he just felt so much better than most of the other tier, not tier 2 cost units. And then the last nerf here we have is Vi. Her mana is going from 50. Starting mana 50 and 125 maximum to starting mana 75 150 maximum. This basically is just changing. All it is changing is how quickly she gets her second ult in a round. So it's no different in terms of how fast she gets her first ult. Her second ult is going to be harder to get, which I'm fine with. The second Vi ult always was tough. It always hurt to have it happen, especially when you throw that Morelos on her. It just felt so good.
Yeah. It's too impactful to be that easy to pull off twice.
Yeah. I don't I don't know off the top of my head what Blitzcrank's mana is, but I would assume it's similar to this because it's a very similar ability. But it definitely feels like the type of alt that they want you to actually have to work and invest items into to get more than once in a round, which I'm fine with. Let's move on here to the buffs. We got our boy Aatrox. His spell damage has gone from 250, 600, 950 to 300, 600, 900. So this is almost like a bUrf kind
you get to
of.
Say it confidently.
It's a
man.
bUrf. It's a bUrf.
I mean, I'm not really seeing a ton of rank 3 Aatroxes in general, so.
But you
I think
you could have.
I could have.
Now it's like I'm fine with this because it always felt a little bit weak to play the tier 1 Aatrox.
Yeah.
Now it's like it's a little bit better, and the tier 2 is exactly the same, and the tier 3 is slightly worse, which I'm kind of fine with because like the tier 3, I like the 50 damage isn't the problem. It's the I've got 2 death caps on him, and that like 50 is actually compounded so much, so it's like, yeah, you're just wiping out an entire team with one alt. So especially with the new demon rework, he's now getting his alt faster. So overall it's a bUrf, but it's an overall buff. I think
it's healthy.
It is definitely healthy. I like seeing Aatrox for sure and saying it. We got Anivia, small change here. Health went from 650 to 700. Good.
We'll see. It feels nominal.
Survivable. Anivia is like, feels a lot like a 4-cost unit, but she is powerful.
Her ult is really good though. Like if
ult is very
if we were in a meta where like rangers and gunslingers were taken over, right, Anivia would be really strong right now. But unfortunately, Nivea's not. She had a little bit of time in the spotlight. A couple patches ago, but this is. I don't know, like, if this is the change she needed. Not at any point have I ever been like, oh, I think Anivia needs a little bit durability because she gets her ult off pretty easily. But I think they want her to get a second one off, and hopefully that this 50 HP is good. They kind of want her ult to just be on the field, I think, and affect it a little bit more instead of... Because when you use it first, by the time like it's fully cast, a lot of those people have moved out of the ult anyway. Right. And so this way... might be good for her to like adjust. This next one though is a little redonkulous.
We got bonus attack damage on transform, went from 30, 60, 90 to 50, 100, 150. So tier 3 Gnar is in here.
No, like you put like, because I remember back in the day it was that carry Gnar, 2 static shivs and like whatever other item you wanted. Like, think about it. This is a big boon to Yordle players and Shapeshifter players just in general, because now you can really put items on Gnar, right? Like you could put attack damage. I mean, like 100 attack damage at rank 2. That's a good amount, right? Let's look at what Draven's was at 75.
It's adding more than an unnerfed Draven. It's adding an additional 33%.
And so like I'm excited to see like infinity edges on this character, but he's always been good. He's always been good with attack speed, and now that he's going to be able to get that attack since he's wild as well, like think about how many attacks he's going to get at 100 base AD. He's going to be a force.
Also, raise your hand if you're listening to this and you've gotten that pack with 2 Gnars and then never seen the 3rd Gnar. I've seen that. I've had that happen to me. I've had that happen to me multiple times, and I've seen it happen a lot. It's really weird. Like, specifically one pack that has 2 Gnars, and then you don't see that 3rd Gnar.
And he's already, his ult is already so impactful, so they're just making him so he's not an ult bot, and that he can actually sustain and go. And think about like the fact that also he might be getting the Yordle buff, and he's doing 40 more damage level 2 to you, and you can't kill him. So
the raid boss Gnar is, I think, going to be a real thing, and it's going to be scary, and be ready for it. You didn't like Jinx. Well, Gnar. Next up, we got Misfortune. Ability damage was 800, 1250, 1700, and is now 900, 1300, 1700. I mean, does it
She's
matter?
not hitting anyone. Yeah, exactly. We both went
Her
there. It
ability
doesn't matter at
change
all.
is 0. It does 0 extra damage. It's.
Does she have an ultimate? Is that
I
a
mean,
thing?
it is.
I guess look cool
Yeah, it is cool.
and laugh.
Yeah, she's laughing the whole time at you as the person who's playing her. Yeah, I mean, it's good. Sure, if her ults hit, that's
More
great.
damage.
I do like that actually because it like when it hits, I want it to do stuff. I'm fine. I'm almost fine with the random like complete biffs, but like when it hits, I want it to actually do stuff. And this kind of goes a little bit more through the night buff. So thumbs up for me on the more misfortune buff. Next up, we have a Morgana bUrf. Armor has been increased from 20 armor to 30 armor, but her ability damage has been decreased. It was 200, 325, 450. It is now 175, 300, 425. I mean, I can quote Riot Mort's response to a tweet that I actually sent to him about the bUrf, and he said, overall, we believe this is a buff, more likely to survive and get the second part of her ult, and can act as a frontliner more for 6 Sork/Demon comps. I agree with that. It does suck.
Durability on Morgana is actually a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because a while ago, putting Phantom Dancer on her was like really popular, and so. But in terms of thematics, they also needed this too, because why give her a second part of the ult that never actually happened? Right. And so 10 more armor. Again, it's just not 10 armor. It's 10 armor against every auto attack going towards her.
Yep.
And so like putting a frozen heart on her could be really good now.
That's true.
Because then you could build her tanky, and I think that's kind of what they want at this point. He said frontliner. When you think frontliner, what do you think of tank? And so this is giving you more incentive to not just build Morellos on her, to potentially make her a bit beefier. And I like it. I think it is a buff, and that's why they have to nerf the ability damage, because she is going to output more damage because she's going to successfully complete the second half of her ultimate. Yep. So overall, it's more damage.
Yeah, and we've seen we've seen Morgana at the top. At the tippy top and being overpowered, so they wanted to buff her, but they needed to bUrf her so that she wasn't too overpowered. I like it. I like Morgana as a unit. I think I always like putting a Guardian Angel on her. And now maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can focus, like you said, on some other items and have it be all right. But definitely like it. Thumbs up for me on the Morgana change. Last buff here is Shen, who gets a 50 health bonus from 650.
This is literally a buff to he's doing things with his hands, and now he'll actually get to ult.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
really,
what that 50 health is for.
Yep. It's 50 finger health so that he can survive it. Good. I like Shen. I think he was kind of underplayed this like half patch. I think Ninja's
underrated unit for sure. I think he actually outputs a lot more damage than you would expect to, since he's a ninja.
Yeah, he's a ninja and he is a blade master, so he fits. He's like that. He's like that nice like puzzle, like middle of the puzzle piece. It's like, oh, that feels good to put him in, but it's like not the most important piece. It's like nice to.
Yep.
Or maybe I don't know if that analogy works, but I like Shen. I like ninjas. I mean, they've been slowly like giving us a little bit of the old ninjas back. Like, okay, Zed's better. It's like maybe I don't think they changed Kennen, but like maybe Akali's getting some. I think Akali got a buff. Ninja's got a buff. Now here's another technically ninja buff. It's like they're slowly pushing us back towards ninjas. I would imagine that ninjas didn't see a ton of play, and that's probably why we're seeing this little bit. So I like it. Try ninjas. He's also just a good like mid game tank as well. And then
putting a Phantom Dancer and Warmogs on him is always really fun.
Yes. Last actual active change here is to Luden's Echo. The damage has been reduced from 200 down to 180.
That's good. That is a total of, because it splashes to how many people? Basically, it's not just a 20 damage. It's like it's like an 80
or 100. Yeah, I think it's.
And since one of the only people I really saw Ludens on was Lucian, and he was nerfed as well.
Yeah.
I'd be intrigued to see where this item lands, because you use it for people who can use their ultimates really quickly. So like Akali and Lucian are the ones that come to mind quickly. But yeah, we'll see. I was fine with Ludens, but early game it was impressive.
Yeah, I've seen it on Ari, Asol. It's fine with because it like bounces like in a big pattern. Ari, I think it's still pretty good on. I mean, it's still fine on Lucian. He's just worse. Yeah, I'm interested to see if this is something that they like, if Ludens is still in the meta or not. But last, we just had a couple of bug fixes. There's further adjustments to matchmaking, which are not in as of the live recording. And then Hextech trait now disables Ionic Spark for the appropriate 8 seconds instead of the entire round.
I love bugs like this because they're in all games, right? You'll read it and be like, fixed a bug where Doofist uppercut caused opponents to disconnect. And you're like, what? Like, how did that get in there, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, fixed a bug where Morgana ultimate did 2,000 damage instead of the appropriate 300.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? How? What? And so I love reading bug fixes because there's always stuff like that in there where you're like, oh, okay, that's funny. This is definitely one. Hey, by the way, your item was done for the whole game, for the whole round. Just saying.
Fixed a bug where you could buy a Kel with RP instead of gold.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, no, they didn't fix it, and it wasn't a bug. But yeah, that's the B side. Overall scale, on a scale of misfortune, on a scale from misfortune to Kale, in terms of how happy you are to see them in the pack when you're looking for a Kale, where are you on this patch?
I'm actually going to put that at probably a Pantheon, which is like a 3, because I'm actually really worried about the Gnar buff. I also hate Yordles, like, beyond imagination. Like, going up against Yordles makes me boil on the inside. And seeing it could be like just Yordle up there. It could be Kennen, could be Tristana getting a buff, and I'd still probably say the same thing. But 40 attack damage is a lot of attack damage, like just over and over. And again, you have to think about the fact that he's gonna have Shapeshifter. No, he's not gonna have. He's gonna have Wild buff probably as well as Yordle buff, and so he's also gonna stay alive for longer and gain attack speed. Like this is intense, and I think this kind of goes back to what we talked about a little earlier with Yordles just being harder, just in general. So now you get a buff on one, and you're gonna be rewarded for staying the course with your hyper carry Gnar.
Yeah, I am excited to see the Gnar step up as in I think might be in that like Draven Jinx Asol category of like, yeah, he's up on that pedestal now. You can
I mean they're all 4-cost units too, right?
Yeah.
So it would make it even.
Yeah. I'm happy to see new ones, although it is very frustrating to play against something like Gnar. Let's move on here. Let us know in the Discord what you guys think about the patch, either initial impressions or after you have played it. Of course, next week is going to be 9.17, which we don't really have a ton of details on yet, but we will talk about that as they come in. Okay, so I'm going to do a new segment here that I am at least tentatively calling the Consort with Riot Mort, where we take a look at some of the tweets that
is it Consort like the name of a prostitute in some isn't
Consort consort is like to talk with them, isn't it? I don't know. I'm keeping it now,
honestly,
even if that is what
the
it
same
means.
Thing.
It might be. If this is wildly inappropriate, someone can let me know, and I'll probably ignore that. But basically, the thought process behind this is, right now, at least, we have a really active game designer in terms of in the community and on Twitter and in Reddit, active and at least somewhat transparent. I mean, he's responding to tweets from random schmucks like me on the patch notes. So he's very active and has a lot of interesting insight into the game, obviously, as a designer in the game. So I wanted to talk about a couple of interesting tweets that he had, and we can have maybe a little bit more of a discussion on them. So someone tweeted out at him, hey, dude, I'm on PvE before the first melee round. The dude has 4 items, and I have 3. Can I tell you that 2 gold is never worth an item? 5 gold isn't even worth an item. I never really want gold. Do you know what Kingmaker is? Giving them items and me gold is how you Kingmake. Bad design. That's what who I will keep him anonymous, Twitter folk said. Right, Mort retorts in sort with, I don't agree that getting 2 gold instead of an item is a, quote, Kingmaker. That's a pretty large exaggeration. I've stated multiple times we will not move to a flat item rule. Do you agree that I'm just... do agree. I do agree. This is him saying this. I do agree that item distribution needs improvement. We're working on some pretty dramatic changes. So there's a lot to take in there. First question, Boop. Do you think that that the getting gold versus items is a Kingmaker situation?
I mean, no, not really. And while I think it does give some other people distinct advantage, I think the idea is that if you get gold, you can buy more units, while these other people are going to have to wait for their units. But I think early game, it's a lot less rewarding, because I think that 5 gold for Krugs sometimes can get you an extra interest, right? Yeah. And so puts you to like 20 gold, and then it ends up being 7 gold, really, that you're getting because of this, and then you can level up, and then you can maybe see your level 4s. They just won't have items, right? And so you can maybe get your synergies quicker if you get gold. But I think the trade-off is the fact that they said in the past that if you get gold a lot in your first items, it should actually equate later on with wolves and chickens, that you'd get a ton of items there. But I have not experienced that. The other day I only got 2 items. The only day I got 2 items total after wolves. I got gold all 3 rounds to start, and then 1 item at Krugs, and then 1 item at wolves, and then 2 items at chickens. And then I was like, oh shit, I just don't have anything, right? And that sucked for the late game. So that needs to change. But Kingmaker, I don't know, because for some reason I feel like if you're like good enough at the game, you're picking the right item up at the carousel. You're picking you don't need a massive amount of items to be good, right? You need the right items to be good, and it's cool to have 6 completed items on someone, but how many times has that just like not mattered, right? When the team comp on the other side is just too good.
Yeah, Hex Tech equals that out. And like, here's the other thing, like, people complain about not getting enough items, and then I see them build like redemptions and stuff on their units. Like, yeah, you weren't doing anything with the items anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if someone gets 2 Guardian Angels items versus someone getting 1 or half of 1, okay, that's I'm not gonna say Kingmaker. That's an early game advantage for someone. But here's the thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna win in the late game. Like, I have had games where I've gone on like a 10 game win streak at the beginning, and then like I start to drop off because I've been investing all my gold into interest, and I'm winning these items, and maybe people roll their gold away or something. Like, yes, having the items early is going to be better than not, but like you said, you can get interest earlier, which can compound for sure. The earlier you get the money, the more it's going to make in the long game. You can also roll aggressively more early, or start building your economy early more aggressively. You can level earlier. Like, okay, maybe having an item isn't worth 5 gold, but is like how much gold is a force of nature worth? And you can give yourself a force of nature by leveling up, right? Like, effectively, right? It's actually better.
And then the other thing is too, it's like, would you rather, right, have 4 level 2 units at, after your first level up, or like 3 level 1 units and a level 2 with items, right? I think it does even up. I do think distribution needs to be more even. There have been times where I've seen someone's bench and there's like 7 items on it while I have 1, and like that shouldn't happen. But Kingmaker, I don't know. Usually, I feel like TFT is like marathons, or like the Tour de France, where the person in first place at mid game is most likely not going to win.
Right.
And so, whoa, we'll see about it. But Kingmaker's a little dramatic.
Yeah, sometimes there's those games where like someone was in first the entire game and they completely dominated. But I feel like I see those games or remember those games more from lower ranks than the
Yeah.
higher ranks. Sometimes it happens, but like that's just gonna happen. Kenobi Casts in chat says Riot Mort Retort is such a good name. The Mort Retort or the Mort Report might be a better name than Consort with Mort. I don't know. Maybe we'll.
Yeah,
go with
I looked
both.
it up by the way while you were talking.
Yeah.
So someone here, I'm gonna post it in our Discord. As a noun, just means a partner. As a verb, it means to associate yourself with someone in a manner people would disapprove of.
Okay.
I.e., like a prostitute.
Okay.
So like
maybe
you
that
could
wasn't
consort
exactly
with a
what I was-
woman. Yeah. And so
Or I could consort with Riot
it
Mort.
comes from the word courtesan.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I like it more or less after finding that out.
I like it, Mort. I'm sorry.
Oh, what's what we just got canceled? Huh, weird. Okay, let's move on here. There's a couple other ones. We already kind of talked about that. Here's one. This will be the last one we'll do for this week. Riot Mort tweets out, one of the most common feedback points is, quote, I don't like things that disable my champs. Hextech, Curse Blade, Demon in the pre-work, Phantom, Glacial, etc. This is and he brings up this is a common theme in other games. It's sort of like Counterspell and discard cards in Magic. They can be frustrating, but some find a lot of fun in it. What are your thoughts here on this, Boop? I know we've kind of touched on our thoughts on old Demon patch, but like in general, like Glacial and some of these other like disabling type of thing, like discarding
So
other games.
the thing, okay, so it's different, right? I don't actually enjoy his comparison because playing Counterspell in a card game is very different than what Demons did a while ago, right? You put 4 Demons in and you didn't ult. Right? Like there was no interaction whatsoever. When you play Counterspell in Hearthstone or Magic, you have to time that out perfectly. Right? Like you have to predict when the most important spell is going to come. You have to, lay it down at the right time. You can't telegraph it. There's so much more detail involved in playing Counterspell in Magic that is more fulfilling than just slapping a demon on a board, right? Because it happened to be on your pack, right? And I know like the TFT contains a lot of skill, but honestly, like hearing him say that is a little frustrating because it isn't the same, right? And whenever anyone goes, well, I think some people find it fun, and it's cool. Yeah, some people probably do like trolling like that. You can't use your abilities, right? But some people can go f themselves, because and like this is the thing. Like I'm totally cool with Counterspell. Like in Hearthstone, I think it's a really good card because it blocks play in a way and forces you to play in a different kind of way. But TFT isn't a game that's filled out enough to handle something like that now. And so unless there's a little bit of more nuance, because Hextech's cool because it lasts 8 seconds, right? It's temporary. And there is an obvious way to counter it. And it's easy to counter it now. Everyone's just taken like the one space approach in their positioning, right? And you just need to remember your positioning. Again, like in Magic, you have to play it at the right time because you can bait a counterspell out, right? Because that's the other thing you can't do. Like in TFT, you can't like bait that kind of thing out of somebody else. It's just there.
Yeah, I agree. The counterplay is definitely not as direct in TFT. The thing I like the most that's more like a counter spell or a discard spell is like positioning your Blitzcrank and positioning against it. It's kind of like that, or like having a Blitzcrank on your bench late game and then putting it in even though it's not been in your game the entire time. It's like, yep, nope, I get your, like you played your guy. You played your guy in the corner. I'm going to buy this Blitzcrank and counter it for a round. I agree with you. Old Demon was not like that. That was just unfun and unplay. And like, I never, as a like complete diehard degenerate, try hard a try hard, die hard MTG player for a while, I never like had fun playing the discard spells. I had fun winning, which happens more often when you're playing control decks, which usually have counter spells and discard cards. So like, if there was more of a like heads up, like I'm making an active decision to do something like that, okay, glacial. I mean, if it, a lot of the problem is like some of these things are like they're like secondary. It's like, oh well, I happen to have the glacial bonus, so it's like I'm stunning your guys every once in a while. It's not like I'm stacking a bunch of glacials to stun your guys more. Maybe that happens eventually, but
Yeah, and like the other thing is like in a card game you get real time reaction, right? Like
Right.
you can go, okay, he has a counter spell, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And TFT, it's not quite like that, right? And it is super fun to counterspell a Pyro in Hearthstone,
Mhm.
right? But again, that takes so much more skill than what I think he's letting on in this tweet.
Yeah, it's definitely a generalization, for sure. But I'm not. So Hearthstone, at least originally, took like a very hard-lined approach of like we are not going to have interaction with cards in your hand. There's not going to be discard. You're not going to be able to cause your opponent to discard cards. Um, and I think it's not necessarily been to its detriment, depending on what metrics you look at. But like it does definitely lower some of the decision making, and I don't know what you could have in TFT that would be a corollary to that. But that's that segment. Let us know what you like the most. Is it consort with Mort? Is it the Mort report, the Mort retort, or something Mort creative than that? All right, I'll see myself out. We're gonna
Canceled again. Canceled
yeah,
again.
canceled a second time in only 5 minutes. I got another segment here. Again, the name also not not. It's to be determined here. It's about interesting integrations. I was thinking like maybe like TFT Science or the TFT Lab, where it's like these things that aren't necessarily in the books or on paper known or extremely obvious, but that are interesting interactions to have. And a couple of these I want to shout out to Osto, who sent these to me, at least who sent a couple of these to me. So interesting interactions here, and also blame him if these aren't true anymore. One thing that I did not know, and maybe you guys did, but demons can steal mana from champs that don't actually use mana. So your Varus can take mana from Jinx or from Graves, even though
Graves.
they don't have a mana bar and don't use mana. So that's good to know. Not really, you can't really do anything about that, but it's good to know. And the other one here is if you have a bronze unit with 3 built items and grabbed your third from a carousel, it will bounce off the first item in place of the single item that the unit has at the carousel. So I think
Interesting.
if you have a tier 1 unit that has 3 completed items, it will bounce off the first built item in place for the single item in the carousel. So you could get screwed there if you, in the rare case that you have 3 built items on a tier 1 and then you pick up a third copy of that tier 1 at the carousel, it could screw you over. So
Yeah. For me, I think for some of our listeners who are just getting in, we should talk about some like obvious ones real quick. Obvious to us because we've been playing for a
sure.
while. But if you're just getting in, one of them that really comes to mind is don't build Morellos on Volibear because it only
Yes.
applies on hit effects. That's one of those interactions that I
Yes.
think I still kind of see because like it's one of those things where you
Mhm.
feel like it should work anyway, but it doesn't. You need to add. It needs to be red buff, not
Right.
Morellos.
That's a good
And
one.
so like yeah,
And the
for
opposite is
beginners,
true of Jinx's rockets.
yep, yep. And so yeah, don't build Morellos on Volibear, and he only applies on hit effects. So that's why like back in
Mhm.
the day with Demon Bear and
Mhm.
like Curse Blade and Rapid
Mhm.
Fire Cannon,
Mhm.
that was good for them. And then one of my favorites is a lot of people forget that Warmogs exists. I think in this game.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things, and Kenobi, this is a shout out to you, my friend. I won a game when TFT just came out when I went double Warmog Shojin Rek'Sai. And
Okay.
the reason why that interaction is cool is because when he burrows underground, his Warmog starts proccing. And so he gains about double the amount of health when he's
Oh.
underneath the ground. And the reason why he's got Shojins is to do it more often. So if you want to play like
Yeah.
a stall game, right, where if you
Oh,
want to
that's
get into Earth
awesome.
mode, you can do like double Warmog Shojin's Rek'Sai. I won the game like handily. Like it wasn't even close.
That's awesome.
I haven't been able to recreate it because giant spells are not an item I see very often. And like, why
Yeah.
would you pick that over other items? And why
Like
would you make
Morello's.
Rek'Sai your
Yeah.
hyper carry? But that's a cool
I wanna do it
little
now.
interaction. Because since he's underground, he's going to get that passive health generation when he already has it, and so that's really cool to me.
That is really cool. Another less complex one that is not super obvious. Jace, the new shapeshifter hex tech, does not proc his ult if he has an RFC. He only transforms if he punches someone at melee range. So if he's not ever in melee range because of the RFC, he doesn't proc his ult. So don't put an RFC on a Jace. Not good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I found that out today. And then the other one here from Asta, the last one, is Runin's Hurricane actually procs Jinx's Rocket AoE, which I did not know, and that is crazy.
Yeah, and then again for the new viewers, all items stack. That's
Yeah.
something that I think a lot of people
Yeah.
don't internalize for a really long time.
You can put
And
multiple
so,
on one character.
It's just one of it. Yeah, just one of those things.
Oh,
All
although
items stack.
don't put 2 Guardian Angels on somebody. That doesn't work. I don't think.
Oh, so not all items. All
I've
items.
not. I've actually not. I don't actually know how that interaction works, but I'm assuming it doesn't work. Maybe I need
got
to
to go
test
into
it
the
out.
lab.
We're going into the lab, the TFT lab, or the TFT science class. I don't know what that's called, but that's that segment. If you guys find any interesting interactions that maybe aren't super obvious, send them to us in the Discord. Maybe I'll make a text channel or something for it, or just put them in general. The last thing here that I wanted to go over was a couple of winning builds over the past week. We told you guys to send us your builds that you got first place with. We got a ton. So if yours did not get mentioned, I am sorry. We are already at over an hour and a half for the show, so I want to end quite soon here as we're going a little bit long. But I do want to go over a couple of these here that were interesting. The first one here is also from Osto. I had to pick this one. It's got my good friend Big Pappy Plank, Big Pappy Gangplank, 3-star Gangplank with an Aatrox, an Axe, or sorry, not Axe, Ash, Vayne, Braum, Lulu, Shen, and Graves. That comp is all over the place, but a sorcerer. Oh, this is a sorcerer plank. That's right. It had the note that Gangplank was a sorcerer, so it was sorcerer stacked Gangplank tier 3. That one's just called a Baboom.
Boom.
The big booms. We had another submission from Kyle Wynn. This one I'm calling just all the 3-stars in the world, all the tier 3s in the world, and some nobles. I don't think it. I know that is 6 noble. Tier 3 Ash, tier 3 Fiora, tier 3 Garen, and a Draven, a Sejuani, a Darius, a Vayne, Kale, and Leona. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the full 9 there. That's just a big build.
Yeah, that tier 3 Ash was probably terrifying.
Yeah. And notably he had to beat a tier 3 Shyvana in the process because that person got second. I won't go over mine. Here's another tier 3 extravaganza from Glen Coco, aka Deathblow. Tier 3 Kennen, Tier 3 Lissandra, Tier 3 Lucian, rest in peace. Actually, no, Tier 3 Lucian is the same. Never mind. He knew that it was going to get nerfed, or that it was going to stay the same. We also have a Brand, a Jinx, a Poppy, a Garen, and a Gnar. So
Knights, Yordles,
Elementalists,
Gunslingers, yeah,
and
that's interesting.
And a Gnar. And a Gnar.
You know, a lot of people think, especially when they first start playing, that they have to get all of one unit. Like, oh, I got to get 6 demons or 6 brawlers, and that's not the case. It's good to split it up sometimes.
It's really nice to split it up, and you'll kind of get an idea of like how much you need, or like if you want to go for the next tier of buff.
A really good one to think about like early on is 3 Yordles is good and can transition into a lot of things. So like your Lulu, Viger, Gnar, or or Tristana can be put into a lot of stuff if you want to try to split the difference.
Yes. Okay, last one here, and again, I'm sorry to everyone's who I skipped. Believe me, I skipped a couple of mine too, so don't feel too bad. We'll go with Ham Tornadoes here.
My girl!
She mentioned that this comp got 17 wins in a row.
Yeah, I actually saw it in person.
Nice.
This was the first comp I ever taught her how to play.
Yeah, go for it.
Which we did. So it was her. This wasn't her first game, but in her first game ever, I taught her. She just happened to get pirates, so we transitioned into assassins afterwards. So she's been practicing that, and this was the result.
Nice.
Yeah, the Void Assassin. She loves Voids. And the interesting thing here is that Katarina sitting there.
Ooh.
that rank 2 Katarina is just... I think Katarina is such a garbage unit. I just pass on her just most of the time. Another person who I'm not sure has an ult. But the Void True damage here is very, very strong. And I believe most of her items were on Rengar, which is a good choice. So
yes,
17 wins in a row at any elo at any rank is hard to do. So congratulations, That's awesome, especially with Void Assassins.
Yeah, this one was Akali, Cho, Evelynn, the Katarina, the Rengar, Pyke, Rek'Sai, and Kha'Zix. This is like almost the old like Josh OG Rengar comp of 2 or 1.5 patches ago, or whatever, 1 full patch ago. I think it might actually still be kind of all right, especially since people are kind of sleeping on the Rengar because he's not as good as he was.
Yep, and Cho is just such a good unit.
Yeah.
Right? If you get the true damage and you put a death cap on him, I mean, he's going to destroy a lot of people. But yeah, that's cool. 17 wins in a row. That's awesome.
It is definitely good. So guys, yes, that is going to be it. Thank you all who submitted. Again, I apologize. I thought maybe we would get like 1 or 2 and I would be talking mostly about mine, but we got a ton and I want to keep them coming. Go to the Discord. You could email them to me, but just go to discord.me/LittleLegendsPodcast, and there is a channel. Post your comps there. That is where I'm going to be grabbing most of them. But yeah, that's going to be it, everyone. Thank you to everyone who listened live. We are here we'll probably, unless like we'll work around the guest schedules, but I think for the most part we'll probably do Wednesdays. Those are patch days, maybe like either like Tuesday or Thursday potentially, depending, but like Wednesdays are the patch days. We're not 100% sure, but probably be around there so we can actually talk about the patches. So we're at twitch.tv/theblevins on those days. Make sure you join the Discord to know when we are going live. Ask us any questions you may have and all that stuff. If you are listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast platforms, please do leave us a review. We will read it on the show, and it does help us grow a ton. Just another thank you to everyone who has listened and downloaded so far. All of the support helps a ton. This is just such a fun game and a fun show for us to do that I'm just glad that we're able to do it. Boop, any last parting words before we go into the final run here?
Let's just keep on grinding, my friend. That race to diamond is still on. You're a little ahead, but yes. I'm feeling good. I always feel very smart after listening to this podcast. So hopefully it translates into some gained rank.
Let's hope everyone gains some rank. But guys, again, make sure you join the Discord, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. We're at Lil Legends Pod on Twitter. If you want to email us about something more big than that you don't want public on Discord or whatever, you can email us at littlelegendspodcast@gmail.com. If you search Teamfight Tactics Podcast or Little Legends Podcast on any of the platforms, you'll probably find us there. Boop, where can people find you on the internet on other days of the week?
At Booposaurus Rex on Twitter. That's going to be the main one.
Yes. You can find me at League of Blev on Twitter. That's where all of the all my TFT stuff. Although I feel like I'm tweeting more from the podcast Twitter, which is fine from now. And then, of course, we are doing the live shows, and I am also streaming TFT during the week at twitch.tv/theblevins. Guys, let us know if there's anything that you want us to talk about on the shows. Again, anything we add is going to probably come at the cost of other things, probably the tangents, what we won't always have at the beginning of the episode. But this was a long one. I think we'll probably have it a little more condensed in the future. But I had a fun time, and I hope you guys had some fun too. So for Booposaurus, I'm the Blevins. We'll see you guys next week for the full patch 9.17. Maybe we'll have some new champs and stuff, but may all of you gain your LP, and hopefully not at the cost of me. But, guys, that's it. See ya!